Alright, let's talk about baseball stadiums. We've got these shiny, modern cathedrals of sport today, right? Wi-Fi everywhere, gourmet hot dogs, seats so comfy you could take a nap. But let me tell you, they're missing something. They're missing the pure, unadulterated chaos that was the old Comiskey Park in Chicago. I'm not just talking about a historic ballpark. I'm talking about a place that felt more like a three-ring circus run by a mad genius. And that genius was Bill Veeck. When you think of a scoreboard, what comes to mind? Numbers, team names, maybe a little animation? Well, at Comiskey Park, the scoreboard was a monster, a true spectacle. Bill Veeck, the owner of the White Sox, was a showman through and through, and he decided the scoreboard shouldn't just show the score, it should celebrate it. So in 1960, he unveiled the exploding scoreboard. And yes, it did exactly what it sounds like. Every time a White Sox player hit a home run, this thing would erupt. We're talking fireworks shooting into the sky, bombs going off, pinwheels spinning like crazy, and a deafening siren that would rattle your bones. Imagine you're a visiting pitcher, you just gave up a dinger, and now you have to stand on the mound while a full-blown pyrotechnic show celebrates your failure. It was a masterpiece of psychological warfare and pure entertainment. The sound effects alone were legendary. A mix of sirens, bells, and electronic noises that sounded like a spaceship was landing in the middle of the South Side. It wasn't just a feature, it was the heart and soul of the ballpark's personality. It told you right away this wasn't just a game, it was an event. But Veeck's brand of weirdness didn't stop at the scoreboard. He believed the fan experience should be well, unique. So, what did he do? He installed a working shower in the bleachers, yes, ashore. On a hot, sticky Chicago summer day, you could literally grab a towel, strip down to your swimsuit, and cool off under a spray of water while watching the game. Can you even imagine that happening today? The health and safety meetings alone would take years. But at Old Comiskey, it was just part of the charm. It was a symbol of Veeck's philosophy. The ballpark belonged to the fans, and if they wanted to shower, then let them shower. It was a communal, slightly bizarre, but ultimately brilliant idea that made a day at the park unforgettable. And then we have the moment that truly cemented Veeck's legend. August 19, 1951. The White Sox are playing the St. Louis Browns. The Sox need a spark, a little something to get the crowd going. So who does Veeck send up to pinch hit? Eddie Gettle. Eddie was 3 feet, 7 inches tall. He was, at the time, the shortest person to ever play in a Major League Baseball game. He walked up to the plate wearing the number 18 on his jersey. The Browns pitcher, Bob Kane, was completely baffled. The umpire was yelling, the crowd was going nuts. Gettle had been given strict instructions by Veeck, do not swing. Just stand there. His strike zone was microscopic, maybe an inch and a half. The pitcher tried, but he couldn't throw a strike for straight balls. Eddie Gettle walked to first base, got a standing ovation, was replaced by a pinch runner, and his major league career was over. A perfect on-base percentage. It was a publicity stunt, of course, but it was a brilliant one. It was pure theater. That was the essence of Comiskey Park under Bill Veeck. It wasn't just a place to watch baseball. It was a living, breathing entity with a personality all its own. The atmosphere was pure South Side Chicago gritty, no nonsense, and fiercely loyal. The fans weren't there for a wine and cheese tasting. They were there to live and die with every pitch. The air smelled of grilled onions and cheap beer. The sounds were a mix of cheers, organ music, and the rumble of the L train passing by. It was working class, it was loud, and it was proud. Veeck amplified this atmosphere with his endless stream of promotions. He had Grandstand Manager's Day, where fans held up signs with yes or nitrogen monoxide to vote on strategic decisions during the game. Should they steal a base? Should they bring in a new pitcher? The crowd decided. It was interactive sports before video games even existed. He had an actual clown, Andy the Clown, who would greet fans and entertain kids. He had post-game fireworks long before it was a common thing. He even let fans onto the field after games to run the bases. One of the most infamous promotions, of course, was Disco Demolition Night in 1979. It was supposed to be a fun, silly event where a local DJ would blow up a crate of disco records between games of a doubleheader. The problem? Way more people showed up than anyone expected, and things got out of hand. Fans stormed the field, fires were started, and the riot police had to be called in. The second game had to be forfeited. It was a disaster, a public relations nightmare. But even in its failure, it was pure Veek. It was big, it was ambitious, and it was chaotic. It's a story people are still telling more than 40 years later. When you put it all together, the exploding scoreboard, the bleacher shower, the meaty pinch hitter, the fan-managed games, the gritty South Side vibe, you get a picture of something we've lost in sports. Modern stadiums are incredible feats of engineering. They're comfortable, they're clean, they're efficient. But they're also a bit sterile. They feel corporate. They're designed to maximize revenue, to sell you a luxury experience. The rough edges have been sanded down. The unpredictability has been engineered out. Old Comiskey Park was all rough edges. It was unpredictable. It was a place where you might see a future Hall of Famer hit a home run, or you might see a 3'7" man draw a walk. You might get soaked by a summer rainstorm, or you might get soaked by a communal shower in the outfield. You never knew what you were going to get, and that was the magic. It was a stadium built not by a corporation, but by a showman who loved baseball and, more importantly, loved the fans. So next time you're sitting in a brand new stadium, sipping a craft beer in your padded seat, take a moment to remember the chaos of Old Comiskey. Remember the fireworks, the sirens, and the shower in the bleachers. Because while our modern parks might be better in 100 different ways, they'll never be as wonderfully, beautifully weird as the house that Bill Veeck built. That kind of magic, that kind of character, just can't be replicated. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any wild memories of old ballparks, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to read them. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the golden age of sports. See you next time.